This is the Meta 1 month overview reading for the month of June 2023. It's currently May 6, 2023, 4:11 p.m. Eastern Time. Meta at the time of this reading in the extended hours is $232.01. That's USD. And the shuffle file we're about to play for the June Meta reading was created on April 12, 2023 at 11:10 p.m. Eastern Time. That's this file right here. So the overall theme and behavior for the month, we have a sideways S formation within a channel. So usually the channel is like a horizontal resistance and a horizontal support. Sometimes it's at an angle. You know, you'll go down, but it'll still be resistance and support. And what happens is you go from resistance down to support, reverse, go all the way back to resistance, reverse, go all the way back to support. So we should see some like back and forth behavior going on, and most likely a sideways S formation there within a channel. It's crossed with at least one period of sideways rotation that ends with a fast sudden move higher. And at least one notable decline on a multi-day kind of scale will stand out there with those unicursal areas. At least one of these unicursal areas is going to have a decline in it. Behavior around the highest high, we have from a prominent crest on a 1 month scale, there's a sharp decline off of that prominent crest. The sharp decline will stand out on a 1 month chart. Behavior around the lowest low, we have a period of sideways rotation near the low. We have a period of sideways rotation near the low and a sharp drop within that period of sideways rotation. Before we go any further, let's take a look at April and see how we did. No, I don't think this is our finest reading. We had a lowest low here on the 3rd, and it looks like we're pretty close. Not quite. The lowest low ended up being here, but it's pretty close, really. Lowest low on the 25th. We had a trough on the 26th, so we were a little bit off on that. But you can look at this gap. Like, there was a clear kinetic move with the Ace of Swords. It moved on its own when I threw down the ruins. And you can see, look at this. That's the 26th, 27th. Look at what happens on the 26th into the 27th. Like, really crazy how that takes place. That also marked a unicursal opportunity. So probably we'll see lower price levels. And you can see we already do. But it marks a unicursal opportunity when we jumped up here. It's lower price levels into May. As far as a highest high, I have a highest high kind of towards the end of the month. There was a couple locations where it could have been. It was a little hard to determine exactly, but most likely I thought was going to be the 26th, 25th. Looks like I was off a couple days. The other location where it most likely was going to be was the 26th, 27th. Looks like I nailed that right on the head. On the 6th, we had a trade. Interesting. Well, so we had a trade to open up long position here. You could close it on the 12th. Looks like I was off on that. No, you could have closed it on the 12th for a gain. Or you could close it on the 14th. Looks like that was a solid trade. On the 20th, you could position yourself in both directions on the 20th with the amount of price change that took place there, and you can see you would have made money to the downside, you would have made money to the upside if you positioned yourself there and held to close a short position here on the 24th, 25th, and then the long position there on the 26th, 27th. So not the best, but still pretty solid information. A lot of this was pretty accurate. We missed some of the main points there, but for the most part, this was pretty solid for trading. With that said, there's the completed shuffle file. We're gonna get into it. Guys, at the end of this reading, so you guys understand, when I do the public version, we just go through like the day-to-day chart behavior by the day and the highs and the lows. But when we get into the paid version, we're talking about trades on a like multi-year scale, on a 1 year scale, on a multi-month scale, like not just day trades, but swing trades, all in the paid version. If you're interested in the paid version, my friends, it's a really great way to support the channel. You can do so here at our services, SO Meta Forecast, on our website, tarotfortraders.com, where you click on monthly predictions, and you just click on whichever subscription you're interested in. Whichever one you use regularly, you really should. It's the right thing to do. If you want access to all the paid versions, you could sign up for the $250 subscription, which gives you access to all of the paid versions. And that's a really, really great way to support the channel. Much appreciation goes out to all of you that do that. I know who you are. Thank you very much for that, my friends. This is like multi-day and then 1 year trades. But let's get into it. So on the first, we have a trade opportunity I'll talk about in the paid version, and a notable decline through multiple support levels. On the second, there's a resistance level that's highlighted that we've come up against multiple times. It's on a multi-day kind of scale. On the fifth, it looks like there's a lot of price change on the fifth. There's an important technical price level acting as a resistance, most likely as a resistance there. That's an important technical price level on a 1 year scale. And it looks like there's a lot of price change there because we have both a trough and a crest here, like prominent trough and crest on a monthly scale here on the 5th. On the 6th, it looks like we probably break through that price level from the 5th and have a breakout, especially towards the end of the day. On the 7th, that move higher continues. There's a trade opportunity there I'll get into in the paid version. And then on the 8th, at the beginning of the day, notable move higher, a period of volatility then throughout the day, and then a fast sudden move higher, marking the end of that period of volatility. With that rally out of that fast sudden move higher, it doesn't appear to last. Looks like it completes on the 9th towards the end of the day. Probably there's a sharp drop off of the end of the day crest. Advised to be cautious there. That's most likely where we have a highest high around the 9th, the 8th, 9th, probably the 9th. And be careful for this unicursal energy. There's a sharp drop after this big move on the 7th to the upside. There's a sharp drop off of that, probably like a gap down overnight on the 7th into the 8th. And then we have a big move in the morning of the 8th to the upside. Okay, so on the 9th, for that most likely highest high, sharp drop towards the end of the day, gap down on the 20th. Notable decline on the 20th on a multi-day kind of scale, but it looks like it probably turns around and we see a prominent crest as well as a prominent trough there on the 12th. So we go from decline into probably hard to say, but there's a decline into the 13th that offers trade opportunity I'll talk about in the paid version. On the 13th, there's a range, an important range on a multi-day scale that's highlighted, and we'll most likely see a lowest low around the cusp of the 12th, 13th. So like a lot of price change between the 8th, 9th, and the 12th, 13th. The range on the 13th is going to be to the downside. And there's a notable trade opportunity on a multi-day scale there on the 13th. On the 14th, we have a big move to the upside out of a decline, or in the face of seemingly overwhelming headwinds. On the 15th, the prudence card, it could be several different things. What it advises is to be very cautious because there's tricky chart behavior there. It's usually multiple false tops or multiple false bottoms. Sometimes it's just like really tricky back and forth chart behavior. Or like a fake out, shake out. Looks like it's to the multiple false bottoms here. And there's a trade opportunity there in the midst of all that tricky behavior. On the 16th, we have a notable move higher standing out on a multi-day chart, and we successfully turn resistance into new support. That's resistance on a 1 month scale kind of chart, or chart kind of scale. Closed on the 19th. On the 20th, we have a period of sideways rotation that increases with bullish momentum as we move forward in time. Takes us into a crest. We revisit that crest on the 21st, and there's a failed attempt to break through key resistance, followed by a decline through key support, taking us into a prominent trough. And we might very likely have You might very likely have another like low here, guys. There's a strong possibility of a low. It's probably the lowest. This is probably the lowest price level that we'll see for the rest of the month. It may not be the lowest low. Like the 12th, 13th is probably the lowest low. If I'm wrong, then the lowest low will be here on the 22nd. But I think it's going to just be a prominent trough and probably the lowest price level like left moving forward. Like nothing, no, there won't be lower price levels here most likely. There might be, but most likely not. And there's a lot of price change on the 22nd that would allow one to position themselves in both directions. And to do so like with like at one leg at a time, not both legs at the same time. There's a big move to the upside around the cusp, or at the end of the day, or at the cusp there of the 22nd, 23rd, with at least a temporary breakout and an important resistance level on a multi-day scale highlighted on the 23rd that we declined from. Looks like the decline continues on the 26th through multiple support levels, and then either on the cusp of the 26th, 27th, or early in the day on the 27th, there's a really big move to the upside, like a prominent move that'll stand out on a multi-day scale to the upside. We may have news of a merger, an acquisition, or a decision between two leaders here. I think I recall seeing the Lovers card around the 27th in some other readings, so that's interesting. Something we'll look out for. But as far as chart behavior goes, there's usually like a holding pattern there with a pop and drop. So we come off of that big move early in the day. The big move higher takes us to where we may have another highest high, or we'll come close to another highest high, but this is going to be a significant high here on the 28th that we decline. It looks like big move higher on the 27th into the 28th where there's a highest high. And then on the 28th, there's a notable decline off of that highest high, increasing with the momentum as we move forward in time. On the 29th, there's a prominent trough or low that'll stand out on a multi-day scale. There's also a prominent crest, so we have quite a lot of price change, like back and forth going on there. And then a big move to the upside, standing out on a multi-day chart, reaching for distant resistance there on the 30th. I'm also advised to be cautious there on the 30th. There's universal hexagram energy, which indicates we most likely have a notable decline early in July. To know for sure, I'll have to look at the July reading, but a lot of the time the devil card indicates a decline, a strong decline. All right, guys, that's meta for June 2023. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure that you follow that rule of karma. Super important. You do so here at the resources tab of our website, Tarot for Traders, where we ask that you send 5% of the profits from the information that you make on this website or on this channel. We ask that you send 5% of the profits here to one of these charities, and 5% of the profits back to the channel here. That really helps to support the channel. That leaves you with 90% of the profits. Make sure you spend that money out of love. That's the rule of karma. The universe is going to send it back to you tenfold in all directions for following that rule, my friends. It's the unwritten rule of the channel. Thanks again for following that, all my angel investors. I'll see you on the next one. And stay tuned if you got the paid version. We're going to get into that now.